In 2003, an angelic body was allegedly recovered in Iraq, and there's video footage. This being is described as a hybrid entity, part fallen angel and part human, and it is known as Gilgamesh. Now, before you write this off as internet mythology, here's the part most people don't talk about. That same year, BBC reported on claims that archaeologists had located what was believed to be the burial site of Gilgamesh near the ancient city of Uruk in Iraq, using advanced ground scanning technology that revealed a massive sealed structure matching descriptions from ancient texts. Gilgamesh was treated by ancient civilizations as a real historical being, not a symbol, not a myth, but a king whose burial was deliberately hidden. And when you combine that with how Gilgamesh is described in the epic itself, 2/3 divine and 1/3 human, it lines up disturbingly well with the Nephilim described in the Book of Enoch, hybrid beings born from fallen angels who descended, took physical form and produced offspring that ruled the ancient world as giant kings. In that framework, Gilgamesh would be the physical continuation of a fallen angel, a body carrying angelic essence bound to flesh, which explains why modern rumors don't describe a normal skeleton, but something preserved, abnormal, and classified. According to the Iraq recovery story, which has never been officially confirmed, a sealed site was allegedly accessed, a non-human hybrid body was extracted, and fragments of supposed footage briefly surfaced before vanishing, always blurred, always disputed. And that pattern matters because ancient texts say fallen angels were bound beneath the earth and their offspring buried and sealed, while modern stories repeat the same structure with different language: classified recovery, restricted access, silence. So when people say fallen angel body, what they may actually mean is the closest thing humanity could ever find to one: a Nephilim king, a hybrid ruler bridging heaven and earth, myth and biology. And here's the real question. If ancient civilizations insisted these beings were real, and even mainstream outlets acknowledged claims surrounding Gilgamesh's discovery, do you honestly think the full truth would ever be released today? Or would it be buried again under secrecy? Comment real if you think there's truth behind this. Not long after reports surfaced in 2003 that archaeologists may have located the burial site of Gilgamesh near the ruins of ancient Uruk, the world watched something else unfold almost immediately: the US-led invasion of Iraq. Officially, the justification was weapons of mass destruction, a claim that later collapsed under scrutiny. But to this day, many researchers point out how unusual the timing was. Iraq is not just another battlefield. It is ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, the land tied to the epic of Gilgamesh, the flood narrative, and some of the oldest recorded knowledge humanity has ever possessed. And when military forces entered the region, one of the first areas affected wasn't just strategic infrastructure. It was museums, archaeological sites, and sealed locations that had survived untouched for thousands of years. Whether coincidence or not, the invasion placed modern military power directly over ground associated with hybrid kings, ancient bloodlines, and forbidden knowledge described in texts far older than modern religion. What makes this even more unsettling is what happened to Iraq's artifacts in the chaos that followed. During the invasion and its aftermath, the Iraq Museum in Baghdad was looted, ancient tablets vanished, and priceless objects tied to Mesopotamian history disappeared into private hands or black markets. Among the most controversial items was the Dream Tablet of Gilgamesh, a cuneiform tablet containing a section of the epic itself, describing prophetic dreams and divine communication. Years later, this tablet resurfaced outside Iraq, confirming what many already suspected, that critical pieces of ancient history had been removed from their homeland during the war. While there is no public evidence that the US government officially seized the tablet for classified purposes, the fact remains that it left Iraq during the invasion period and only returned years later, raising a disturbing question. How many artifacts didn't come back, and what information may still be hidden from public view? This is where speculation takes over, and where the story becomes dangerous. If Gilgamesh was viewed by ancient cultures not as a myth, but as a hybrid king tied to divine beings, then his tomb, his remains, or any object connected to his legacy would represent more than archaeology. It would represent proof that ancient texts were describing something real. And if something like that were discovered in a modern war zone, it would never be announced on the evening news. It would be classified, extracted, and erased from public discussion, just like countless other things tied to national security. So when people ask whether the invasion of Iraq was really just about oil or weapons, others ask a darker question instead. Was it also about controlling the physical evidence of humanity's oldest and most uncomfortable history? A history that suggests the gods didn't just inspire mankind, they ruled it. Throughout modern history, governments have consistently classified information from the public under the justification of national security, and once you recognize that pattern, it becomes impossible to ignore how often it extends beyond weapons and warfare into knowledge itself. Documents stay sealed for decades. Technologies appear years before the public is told they exist, and entire events are acknowledged only after they no longer matter. Classification isn't just about protection, it's about control. Control over narratives, control over fear, and control over what humanity is allowed to know at any given time. And while most people assume this only applies to military secrets or intelligence operations, history suggests something far deeper may also be hidden. Information that challenges our understanding of reality, origin, and even the spiritual framework we live inside. Ancient civilizations openly spoke about gods, watchers, divine beings, and hybrid rulers as historical fact. Yet modern society is taught to treat those same ideas as metaphor, myth, or superstition. Despite the fact that governments openly admit to classifying phenomena they still claim not to fully understand. What makes this more unsettling is that classification doesn't erase truth, it just delays it. Time and again, information once mocked as conspiracy later becomes admitted fact, quietly released in documents no one reads or buried behind technical language designed to dull its impact. If governments are willing to hide technologies, experiments, and historical events for generations, then the idea that spiritual or pre-human knowledge could also be restricted is not far-fetched at all, especially when that knowledge threatens the foundations of religion, science, or power itself. Because once you accept the possibility that humanity was not alone in its early history, or that ancient texts were describing real encounters instead of allegory, the entire structure of modern authority begins to shake. So the real question isn't whether governments classify information, they always have. It's what they decide humanity isn't ready to know.